All right, CR. The only other time my dad did a podcast with us, we did Shawshank for my 50th birthday. So I don't think the stakes are as high here. But
the movie's just as long, though.
It really is. My dad was the first person in my life who absolutely loved The Equalizer.
Uh-huh.
I saw it. I was like, all right. Another Denzel was in this whole action movie boom. And then it was on cable. And the real secret sauce to this movie is you just have to throw away the first 20 minutes and then go. And then it just goes and goes. But this movie, you and I knew each other when this movie came out. I don't think we saw it in the theater together. What happened with this movie?
Yeah, a lot of his Clint Eastwood movies, like his vigilante movies or his action movies. So Man on Fire, Ricochet, Two Guns, Safe House, Equalizers, even that Magnificent Seven remake.
Yeah.
You know, maybe the first time you see him, you're like, it's not Training Day. It was pretty cool. And then they get into that second life, whether it's on cable, whether it's on streaming, and you're like, you know what? I'm going to watch Denzel kill some guys for about 40 minutes, and then we can go to dinner.
Well, the day this came out, I went to see it in the movie theater. There weren't too many of us in the theater. And it was a classic. I can't believe that you didn't right away jump in.
Yeah, there was a lot of action movies. This was a real action movie boom.
Uh-huh.
I think it got caught up a little in that. My dad was the one once upon a time who coined the phrase 5 o'clocker.
Yeah,
do you want to explain the concept of the 5 o'clocker?
Well, this was not a 5 o'clocker, but
this is like a, what is this, like a 6:30?
7:30 at night.
Oh, you're saying this is a 7:30
This is a primetime movie.
This is dinner and a movie
at
dinner.
AMC it is.
Yeah.
5 o'clocker is the movie that you and I would go to when we knew that it wasn't going to be great.
Yeah.
A lot of people might be killed. There'd be a lot of action. Probably some naked women in it. And
the 80s.
It would get terrible reviews. And we'd walk out of the theater and say, yeah, that was worth $6 at 5 o'clock at night.
But he would drive home when he was superintendent. And sometimes if he thought there was going to be traffic, he would be looking at the movie schedule. So it'd be like, there would be like a 4:45 of
a way to
some
beat rush
terrible
hour.
movie.
Well, it wasn't just that. I always had a 7:30 meeting at night. So instead of driving home, I'd find a 5 o'clocker in Brockton, the next town over. And hopefully it had all those things that I just described.
And that was kind of his rating system. He's like, no, it's better than a 5 o'clocker.
Well,
so this is a better than a 5 o'clock.
Yeah, then I'd be all psyched to go do battle in those meetings.
What's the platonic ideal of a 5 o'clocker? Give me is it Tango and Cash? Is that too good?
But I mean, you're in the vicinity of the actors.
Okay.
I think. Like John Wick is too good.
No, John Wick is too good.
I would say like Taken 2.
Sure.
Not Taken 1.
Yeah.
But Taken 2, I think, is a 5 o'clocker.
It could have been that Sylvester Stallone movie where he was doing the arm wrestling.
Oh, over the top.
Yeah.
That's going way back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, movies like that.
Or I would say The Gambler with Mark Wahlberg.
Bill,
I know you love that movie, but I'd say that's a 5
an
o'clocker.
opening night of Cannes Film Festival.
No, that's a 5 o'clocker.
Can we talk about vigilante movies? Because
I know it's a passion project for you.
Well, I grew up with them. In the 70s, we had Billy Jack, we had Dirty Harry, Walking Tall, Foxy Brown, which I wasn't allowed to see in the theater. Death Wish was the most famous one. And then one of my dad's all-timers, Josie Wales.
Oh, it's in my top five.
It's a Western, but I count it as a vigilante movie.
Top 5 ever.
So we had this amazing run, and then it kind of dies. But then it comes back with The Equalizer on TV, a show that I never watched. Did you watch Equalizer? I mean, you're
I didn't.
Not opposed to CBS programming.
What night was that on? Was that on after 60 Minutes?
It's one of those things that was kind of happening over here, and I never knew what was going on. But then he would get nominated for the Emmy every year. Edward Woodward, he got nominated 4 times.
Yeah, I would just I remember I would always be walking through the room, and it's after 60 Minutes, The Equalizer, and I would just be like, "What is this? It's like an old guy who solves crimes." I guess.
Well, it's ironic that now they have the new Equalizer after 60 Minutes.
Yeah.
With Queen Latifah, and don't think my dad doesn't have a season pass for that one.
It might be part of my Sunday night watching.
I never watched The Equalizer. Never really knew what it was about. So then when Denzel decides he's going to remake this, it's coming on the heels like Man on Fire 04. Then we have this whole vigilante thing going on in 08 with Taken, the first one, Gran Torino, and I'm going to throw in Inglourious Bastards in there too.
As a vigilante movie?
Well, it's it's a World War II vigilantes. Then 14, we have John Wick and The Equalizer. John Wick, vigilante movie,
I think that's what they they had smaller ambitions for John Wick at first. I think it was just like, he's got to revenge his
I
dog.
don't think they realized what they stumbled into. That was another one where you texted me and was like, did you see John Wick yet?
I think I went to the movie theater, immediately texted you. I'm not sure you even knew it was out yet. And now, of course, all 4 of them are on excellent.
Iconic.
Top of the list.
Yeah.
Iconic, yeah.
We had a few people, because we were doing Grantland that year. I remember Mark Lasanti was another one who was, and I think I was super busy. I think basketball was going on. It was like during that, when we were like really, really busy in 14. And Mark Lasanti, who never said things like this, was like, I can't believe you haven't seen John Wick yet. They literally made that movie for you. And I'm like, all right. Yeah. And then I went, and it was great. And then we had The Accountant in 16, and then Wick 2 in 17. But what is it about these movies? Why do we never get tired of them? The guy just taking something personally and then wreaking havoc.
Well, retribution. Somebody has to pay.
This is what all the Westerns you love is built on this, right?
I don't know. When can I take part in the Rewatchable on Josie Wales?
Yeah.
That would be nice.
That's not really on. You should have been in the Unforgiven one, because that's like in your top 7 or 8.
Up there, yeah.
But yeah, Unforgiven was kind of the level we did.
I think Josie Wales is better for me than
Unforgiven.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on Josie Wales?
I love Josie Wales. Yeah. I love that. I love Pale Rider.
Wesley wrote about The Equalizer, an Obama-era blaxploitation picture in one sense, a polished globalist reasoned defense of a small brownish community from posh white invaders. That was his review for Grantland. He loved this movie. He called it Denzel porn, which I think is a great way to put it. It's just Denzel playing the hits.
Yeah, and I think I would say with the Retribution movies, Josie Wales is like this, and I think Equalizer is like this. It's always ramped up when the vigilante has to do what law enforcement refuses to do or is complicit in, right? So like in Equalizer, Boston is basically being run by these dirty cops.
Yeah.
And he has
and
the Russians in bed with one another, and the Irish,
Yeah.
And then so he has to basically circumvent law enforcement for justice. And he does it with his very specific moral code of not using guns and giving people a chance and giving people the choice. But usually they choose wrong.
And a lot of these movies have that one specific bad guy, like Teddy.
Yeah.
And you grow to hate Teddy in the movie.
Yeah, he's got to have the one scene where it's like, whoa, you went a little too far there.
Yeah.
And in this scene, it's when Teddy punches the guy from Boston Sand and Gravel 145 times in a row.
Yeah.
He wins. That was a 10-7 round for Teddy. What's your favorite of all of these? What's your favorite vigilante movie ever?
I mean, I think that the Wick series is probably my favorite, if I had to say. God, that first Taken really was awesome.
I think Taken is the best executed.
I mean, I like
so
a lot
clean.
of the 70s
It's just
stuff.
like it's like 98 minutes. It's just all right. I'm on the phone. My daughter, someone's in that, and then it's like, put the phone down, lie under the bed, and then we're just off, and he's just killing people.
Yeah, I would probably say that the more recent ones, even though I like watching Dirty Harry and Death Wish and stuff like that, the more recent ones are like easier to watch in a lot of ways.
Yeah, Death Wish, which I also like Death Wish too, even though it's got a brutal beginning. It's really like one of the most brutal movies, I think, or movie scenes that's been filmed. But I always did like Bronson.
Mm-hmm.
When he just kind of unravels in the original Death Wish and he's just going out with the gun, waiting for somebody to look. We had this happen in New York City. It was late 80s when we had that vigilante who was just going in the subway, Bernard Getz.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And that was like the real life version of this. And people, I almost feel like that's why they stopped making the movies.
Yeah, I think that it got like, I think a lot of the
weird.
social politics of the original vigilante movies from the late 70s and early 80s
Pretty
were
rough.
pretty screwed up. So then you just have to find yourself the right foil, and there is no better foil than the Russian mob.
Well, I also liked how that Death Wish led to a movie I always liked, Jodie Foster playing kind of the same role. Do you remember that?
Which one?
She was like a vigilante, and I can't remember the name of the movie.
Are you sure it was Jodie Foster?
Yeah, Jodie Foster.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah.
Not Panic Room?
No, not Panic Room, but I'll come up.
Because every once in a while they try to do it with, like, what was the one? Jennifer Lopez, she had Enough, where takes revenge on her husband.
Yeah, the husband.
Jennifer Garner had Peppermint,
Mm-hmm.
which she was, It's actually a pretty good movie. You can't take Jennifer Garner seriously in it.
That's a classic 5 o'clocker.
Yeah.
Peppermint.
Yes.
That's right. That really is the standard.
Yes.
Because that's not a good movie, but it's totally watchable.
It's a good movie at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Late career Denzel. So we go from 09 to 16 here. This is just in a row.
Uh-huh.
Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, Book of Eli, Unstoppable, Safe House, Flight, Two Guns, The Equalizer, Magnificent Seven.
Mm.
There are no rom-coms in there, Chris Ryan.
There are not. Is he, I was trying to think about.
Unless you think, is Flight a rom-com? I don't know. I haven't seen it in a while.
I think that there's some romance with Kelly Riley. I think the thing that's incredible about him is that he basically has De Niro's career and Eastwood's career in the same career, where he has 6 or 7 iconic, will be remembered for the rest of movie history performances, maybe more. And then he also has 10 or 11 awesome action movies where he is usually playing somebody who's defending like the weak and defending the people who can't defend themselves.
I don't know what the Mount Rushmore is, but I feel like he has to be on it.
Yeah, he's
for
on
action guys.
Well, it's ironic.
Right. He has to be
But
on
you
it.
wouldn't have thought that when his career first started.
No.
That's the thing is he's got like 20 years of being in Mo Better Blues and like
right.
Dramatic films and or whatever.
Philadelphia.
We
don't live in this courtroom now, do we?
Yeah, and then even like when he would do genre stuff, it would be more like Pelican Brief or The Siege. And then later in life, he becomes essentially like this kind of like late middle-aged action star, which I guess is what happened to Liam Neeson too. It seemed like something that.
Well, when they put Safe House up on, I think Netflix this summer, it shot to #1.
Yeah.
And it's not a new movie, obviously.
Safe House is pretty good.
Very good. Yeah, worth rewatching.
Who do you have? Do you have Denzel in like your Rushmore?
Oh, definitely.
Clint's got to be in there.
Clint, Liam.
Liam's made it.
Liam, sure.
There's another Liam movie that's
It's
coming out in August.
Oh yeah,
Did you see that?
Yeah, where
it's
he's
out
like
today.
He's got
It's out
a
today.
self-controlling car that he can't drive. They're trapped in the car. I think that's the plot.
Yeah, I'm not
he's
sure.
like he's not a Lyft driver, but they're in a car together. He's in a car with his family, and it's
somebody
basically
takes the
like
car
Speed.
over.
If you stop driving, it'll explode.
Oh, he just had that movie where he was
That sounds like a 5
the
o'clock.
ice, the icing, the
Yeah.
He's in that. Yeah. What's
yeah.
that movie called? Where he's in like Alaska?
yes, yep. That was good.
I actually think The Gray is better than a 5 o'clocker.
Oh, The Gray's actually pretty good.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
like a good movie.
It's
That
not
might actually be like a
pretty good.
7 o'clocker.
I actually just rewatched that recently.
Yeah, it's good.
Grillo is really good in that.
Yeah, he is. I think that's the best Grillo.
But the other guy I haven't mentioned, Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
I mean, he was never an action movie kind of guy. He was in lots of other, even some
Until
rom-coms.
Speed and Point Break. Yeah.
Yeah. John Wick 4. I've seen it twice already. It's a classic.
I'm saving
We
it.
could be doing Wick 4 right now.
Mm-hmm.
The plot of this movie: retired U.S. Marine turned former DIA spy reluctantly returns to action to protect a teenage prostitute from the Russian mafia. Just an unassailable sentence. You know what's great with these is the reluctantly.
Yeah.
It's always
Not
a big
that reluctant either, though.
one. He's really not. He's kind of itching to.
It's not like he's like, we got to go
vengeance.
through the proper channels, report this to law enforcement.
Yeah.
You know?
Even when he goes to see Melissa Leo's character, and she's like, "What are you
Why?
doing? Why
Yeah.
did this
Why?
happen?" He's like, sometimes you're sitting there in a diner and takes something personally, and shit happens.
Except Melissa said, don't you want to be the man that your dead wife wanted you to be?
Yeah.
Always good. There's always the
They
dead
had to
wife.
throw Vivian in there, the
Yeah.
dead wife.
You never want to be the wife in a vengeance movie.
I want to know when Vivian was in his life, though.
Right, because it sounds like he did some pretty dark stuff for the
Yes.
decades before that.
And then he...
Probably a
thought-
marriage with some secrets.
Everybody thought he was dead. Was he dead because he went to live with Vivian?
Yeah. He's dead because he moved to East Boston. Nobody knows
That's
how to get
right.
there. Can't wait to talk about East Boston. I think Denzel might be my favorite actor.
Huh.
I kind of realized that as I was watching The Equalizer again. I was trying to do the desert island test in my head, which was usually Cruise. If you I'm on a desert island.
I want this person's filmography.
I can only have one actor.
Yeah.
Right? That's it. I can only take one actor. I have a Blu-ray player and Blu-rays, and that's it. But I just get one actor. Who would I want? think he might be the favorite in the clubhouse. I'd really have to go through it. I always thought it was Cruise or Stallone. But I've seen the Stallone movies so many times, I'm kind of tired of them. But Denzel's catalog.
I think being on a desert island with the Stallone filmography would
it'd be tough.
Pretty tiresome.
20 years ago, Stallone would have been my answer.
But doesn't it depend on the era you're thinking about? In the late 70s, Stallone, you idolized Stallone.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's 30 years later.
Late 90s.
Yeah. I would go with Malkovich.
Who would you pick, though?
Denzel's a really good one for entertainment, but I do think that, especially in this later period, it's pretty monochromatic. Like you said, like there's like fences like that, he's got some performances in there, but like for the most part, he's been making these kinds of movies for the last few years.
I mean, we've done I don't know what the number is, but we've done at least 10 Denzel movies now, right?
And we still have some more to go. I mean, we haven't done American
and
Gangster.
There's some meat on the bone.
Yeah. I would go with that. I think I would probably go with I might go with De Niro just because of like the
De Niro. Then you get Godfather 2, but you don't get 1.
Yeah, but I get Heat. I get Goodfellas. I get Casino.
So Pacino would be another good one for this because I get
Ronin. Yeah.
So Pacino, I get all 3 Godfathers and Heat.
Right.
It's tough.
It's a tough one.
If you do West Studi, you get Last of the Mohicans and Heat.
You kind of have to do it almost by decade. I mean,
no, but that's part of the game is the guy's got to have a big enough filmography.
It's not like who do you think is the best, and it's not who do you think is the biggest star. It's just like whose filmography would you like to be?
Well, I can't. I wish Fantasy was here because his answer would infuriate me. He'd be like, I just want John Cazale, just 5 classics. That's it. I don't need any more than that. Yeah, it's a good quip. Anyway, Denzel's in the conversation for me. Cruise has a pretty good library too, because you get all the Mission Impossibles, you get all the 80s stuff, you get the 2 Top Guns, Risky Business.
He'd be like Marcello Mastroianni.
You get Eyes Wide Shut. Yeah. Just watch that over and over again, going, "What the fuck happened in this movie?" All right, so East Boston is a hideout location. You want to do this now?
Yeah, I mean, we could do it because I think you need to tell the non-Boston audience about East Boston and like the relationship to the larger city.
You want to do this? Why don't you take this since you're our special guest? Try to explain East Boston.
People know Southie, right? They know Charleston.
Well, East Boston faces the airport.
Okay.
And nobody knows how to get there. Nobody knows how to drive there. You can take the train because the Blue Line on the way to the airport stops at a stop called Maverick. And Maverick not only has a train stop, but in the movie, that's the bus he took.
Okay.
It's had the Maverick on the bus. But it was always, last 20 years, a Hispanic neighborhood. And the rest, my wife actually worked temporarily at a health center there because she spoke Spanish and Portuguese, and that's who lived there. Yeah. Well, the last 10 years, the developers have come in and they're gentrifying the neighborhood, and 3-deckers are being torn down or converted to condos, and it's that strange neighborhood again. Nobody knows how to get there. The prices have escalated greatly, and it's now considered a hip area.
Okay.
Hip restaurants going in.
But here's the problem. Well, one of the reasons it's hip is because nobody can get there.
Because it was in the Equalizer?
Because, especially now, like the tunnel's been closed all summer. So the way to get there is the same way to go to the airport, basically, right? Unless you want to take the train.
I don't know how to drive there, and I've lived in Boston my whole life.
You never want to deal with airport traffic ever, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're on East Boston, that's why this was like literally the perfect place for Denzel's character to hide out. Because nobody is ever going to East Boston for any reason unless they kind of have to go out of their way to get there. I lived in Charlestown, which you can see in the movie across the water.
Yeah. And
I could see East Boston, and I don't think I went to East Boston once because it would have taken forever to get there unless I took the blue line.
Did you ever eat at Santorpio's? The
Twice.
Okay.
I never loved the bottom.
Yeah.
Like it had that.
That's the one famous restaurant they have, a pizza restaurant, Italian restaurant.
Which you can see when you go to the airport. Yeah. But it's so tucked away. New York doesn't have an East Boston.
I mean, the East New York in New York is very difficult to get to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's cool. Like it's almost that they had like like ferry stuff, like what Brooklyn has, and just easier ways to go back and forth, I do feel like more people would have lived there initially. Maybe that's going to happen.
One of
now.
the things I liked about how the movie depicted East Boston, it reminded me of the scenes in Good Will Hunting.
Yeah.
The same kind of
exactly
three-deckers.
Yeah.
I mean, it is true Boston.
And you do get really good water views. Yeah, it's one of those things. I never knew one person that lived there.
Such a real estate
I
fiend.
never
Water views.
Water views are great. Yeah. I never knew one person that lived there. I never went there for any reason.
No.
I only went to St. Tarpio's twice, but it was close. But you just like, it was just the East Boston people were there, and it was really hard to get to, and it was kind of jealous of them. Because any other part of Boston, you could just do whatever. Like
it was a close-knit, very close-knit neighborhood. But again, the developers have gone in there, and it's changing.
So for Equalizer and Equalizer 2, it actually makes sense that it's like, what's going on in this place where there's just this diner's open all night and nobody's walking around, and it's like, yeah, that's actually what East Boston's like.
It's like a highly stylized version of a real neighborhood. It does feel very authentic to to a city.
I had it later in Pick and Knits. I'm not positive the diner would be open all night, really anywhere in Boston.
There are a couple open all night. There are
all-nighters.
Yeah.
In East Boston though.
Well, I don't know East Boston.
He's never,
but
he doesn't even drive there.
Because like Charlestown would close down at like 1:00 or 1:30. So anyway.
Well, it's also unclear though what time he went there. It could have been
like 2 a.m. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, there were diners that are open pretty late in Boston.
Yeah,
Deli House is open pretty late, wasn't it?
They gave the perception that one was just 24 hours, and that guy behind the counter was just happy to hang out by himself, waiting to make somebody a grilled cheese,
making pie for a
3:48 in the morning. Yeah,
but
are any prostitutes coming in?
It wasn't clear though whether that was 2 a.m. or like 6 a.m. when he went to that diner.
Or 4 a.m.
because he couldn't sleep.
Right.
Directed by Antoine Fuqua.
Who becomes Denzel's kind of
his muse.
He's Don Siegel, yeah.
Well, it was initially, he had Tony Scott for a little bit there. Yeah. He had Spike first, goes into the Tony Scott realm, then was with Antoine. $60 million budget. Seems high.
I think that's for Denzel.
You think Denzel's like half of that? Made $173 million, spawned 2 sequels.
It's the only trilogy he's ever done.
Sadly, no Roger Ebert, because I think he was either close to dying or passed away when this movie came out. We did have Wesley Morris at Grantland writing, "It barely matters where you stand on Washington as a star to recognize that this absurd, grisly, relentless, subversively feel-goodish entertainment amounts to one thing: Denzel pornography. The multiple endings are multi-orgasmic. You might not be able to arrive at an intelligible definition, but you know it when you see it. When you see McCall doing one of those calm walkaways from a massive explosion, you know you're seeing Denzel porn. This is a man so cool he takes a city bus to the film's first finale." Needs to say Wesley liked it. He didn't do stars, but I would have said at least 3 stars for Wesley. Yeah. Do you have a rewatchable scene before Denzel goes to see the Russians?
No.
None of the diner scenes got you?
No. In fact, I was going to say,
the Old Man in the Sea.
The pee break is to drink a ton of water an hour before you start the movie and then just pee the entire first 30 minutes.
So I looked this up. It's really, you can come in at 19 minutes.
Okay.
He's walking. He's left a diner with Chloë, what's her name?
Grace Moretz, yeah.
The hooker.
Yeah.
And they're walking, and then that's when the car pulls up.
Yeah.
It's about 19 minutes. You're really good to start there. They could have just had the opening credits and then just them walking.
Sure.
And we would have been good.
It's funny. I enjoyed the first 20 minutes.
Your dad wants the no violence cut of the Equalizer.
He loved the dialogue.
More Home Depot.
Yeah. It set the scene for me. Set the stage.
Denzel goes to see the Russians. I have as the first rewatchable scene.
Yeah.
$9,800 for freedom. How did he arrive at $9,800?
I don't know. Is that what he had in the bank? Like, because I was under the impression that he's got some early version of crypto that he's just got millions of dollars. Yeah, because he's like an ex-DIA guy. But it seems like maybe he's emptied his bank account to like, he's like, this is how much I have, you know?
I thought he had money all over the place. And
he had 2 apartments.
Yeah,
it's true. Stashing stuff left and right.
Great water views.
Yeah,
in that second one.
Good electricity, good water views.
Great phones.
A quarter suite.
Yeah.
I mean, but it was unclear why that was the figure 90.
Maybe he spent all his money on hidden cameras.
Yeah, that's true. It was initially 10,000, but
this is good because the Slavy, the Russian gangster who I kind of wish had a little bit more runway in this movie.
Yeah,
he does the sort of the Russian villain. He gets the Triple Crown. He does "you fucking Americans."
Yeah,
you gotta have a Russian villain say that. He tells the threat that then he says as a joke. He's like, "I'm just fucking with you."
Right.
And then he's like, "You've got very big balls, man. I like you." Like, why does like the gangsters always say like, "I like you"?
You missed the last piece of that. Who are you?
Yeah. Well,
as he's dying,
he gets asked
you have to have the "Who are you?" right as
well, he's
as
not
the last
only
words.
one in the movie who asked, "Who
we
are
get
you?"
Who the fuck are you later. So I think this scene is really brilliant.
I do too.
Like from a rewatchable standpoint, flicking channels. If I know this scene's coming, I'm staying.
Yeah.
Because I went the way they film it, where he's like, "All right, that guy's got a corkscrew. Can see the knife over there.
This guy's got a gun.
This guy seems like he's got a gun. There's a glass over there.
He has the clock.
Right. And then he's got his OCD stopwatch thing going.
Yeah. When he locks the door from the inside, you're like, it is fucking on.
Now you guys can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Well, right before he locks the door, I remember he shuts it
3
Well,
times.
he has to do the OCD thing.
Yeah.
I just feel like they just immediately shoot him when he locks the door. But
yeah,
that's
I mean,
fine.
we can get into that and picking nits, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of
It's
opportunities
just
for
like,
those
hey,
guys
lock
to get
the door.
McCall.
Boom, oh,
Except
so we
that
just
I
had to
don't-
kill a guy.
I
Lock
don't
the
think
door.
they were afraid. There were so many of them,
Yeah.
and they certainly didn't know why he was locking the door.
Yeah.
Well, so he turns like all those things on the desk toward the different villains. They're probably a red flag. I love that part. It's just an elite 6 minutes for an action movie. Like elite. Top of the line.
Yeah.
If you only had 10 minutes and you only could watch 10 minutes of the movie, those are the 10 minutes.
That's a good call. If you only had 10 minutes, that's a good award.
It is one of those, they do a good job at editing it to not make you go, wait, why didn't one of the 6 guys just hit him from behind as he was stabbing the other guy? But the way they cut it, it makes sense.
Yeah, they have there's a little post-limitless element to this where it's just like this guy's brain is a supercomputer and you're going into his POV and he can see all the angles and time everything.
Well, you can see all the angles is a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
I have next the Boston Sand Massacre.
I thought that scene was a little bit overdone.
That scene is an American classic, honestly.
I should have counted. See, I'm slipping. 4 years ago, I would have thought of this. I should have counted how many times he punched the guy in the face. It's got to be like 27.
Yeah. And when David Harbour is just like, oh, shit.
It's always good when one of the other bad guys is like, Jesus. Like, there's horrified even for the bad guys. And then Teddy says, it's a message that says I'm here. I also love the Boston Sand guy who
We're gonna
mouths
talk
off
about
to
him in a
them.
second.
Yeah, he's going to come up in later categories. That guy's elite.
Well, the Boston Sand place, right near where you used to live in Charleston.
Yeah.
Drove by it every day.
Walked by it recently, actually. Yeah.
Is it still there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Still pumping out sand?
Definitely. Yeah.
Still cranking out the
Still
sand?
got sand and gravel.
Sand, gravel, and cement.
Yeah. Shout out to those guys. Hope they're listening.
Hey, officers, I'd like to report a crime with the blue light. When those guys come out of his Ralph's thing, that scene's great.
The cops. The dirty
the
cops. I actually, as much as I like the Russian mob, McCall versus like the crooked Boston PD would have been awesome. If it was just like him making his way through all the bosses of the Boston and then he finally gets.
That could have been Equalizer 2.5.
Yeah.
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 I really like that scene. I like when they go return the money and it was like, that almost hurt more than the beating.
Yeah.
Next one, Teddy goes to see Denzel and pretends he's a cop.
Yeah.
We all know what's really going on. I like those.
Even
when you got a guy with a foreign accent going, hey.
Yeah.
Hey.
Aren't you going to leave me your card?
Yeah.
He said, I must have given them all out.
Next one I had was Denzel Diner Murder.
Yep.
Blocked by the Boston Herald truck. One of the most Boston scenes in the movie.
Yeah.
The guy comes in and asks, what does he ask for? Like an egg and cheese?
He's like, no cheese.
No
cheese.
And that's the guy from the Anaconda sequel and Tears of the Sun. He's a Fuqua
He's a
guy.
good that guy.
He's like a really good, like, kind of Johnny Messner. He's like kind of a Scott Adkins type dude.
This is the second part of the movie where you're just like, why didn't they just shoot him right there in the street?
Yes. witnesses.
Witnesses,
For some reason, Teddy is worried about witnesses. He like nearly caved in Little John's head in front of like 9 guys.
Yeah.
Plus, it was like 4 a.m. I'm not sure how many witnesses were out there.
But East Boston at 4 a.m.
It's the Russian mob. Kill the witnesses. What are we talking about?
Just kill everyone.
No, but remember, he wanted him taken alive.
Oh, right.
He wanted to find out
who he was.
Who he worked for and who he worked for.
That's a good call.
Yeah.
Next one, Denzel's foster child story to Nikolai.
I loved it.
You know, and we'll talk about it a little bit with the research, but I think when Denzel's making an action movie, I think he puts in the request of like, just give me like 2 speeches.
Yeah.
Just let me cook twice. Because in this movie, he gets to cook in that scene, and then with the when he goes to visit Melissa Leo.
Yes.
And I think that's his only request. He's like, just make me look cool. Just wire the money to my account. I want it all. I have no installments, just everything all at once, and give me 2 speeches, and we're good.
Well, can we assume that that Melissa Leo gave him the background on Teddy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because she gets off the helicopter and she's like, "Here's the deal. Like they're Russian mob."
Well, and that I'm assuming that the story about the 12-year-old kid is about Teddy.
Yeah.
And that was all in the information she gave him.
They find out, and he's like, it starts out, and you're like, is this like a fairy tale or something? Yeah. And then it's like, oh, this is Teddy's story.
It's Teddy's story.
Is this your most watched movie of the last 10 years? Or is it John Wick 2?
This one. Yeah, because John Wick.
That's why he's here.
John Wick hasn't been out long enough for me to keep watching it.
John Wick 1 was, but you've seen this more than John Wick 1.
Probably. Yeah.
John Wick 2 is.
I watched it at 8:00 this morning.
And then when the last one is the Home Depot Massacre, even though it's not the Home Depot. What's it called?
It's like the Boston
Home.
It's Home.
Like Home Mart.
Home Mart.
Yeah.
Home Mart.
We can call it Home Depot. With all due respect,
I'm just going to call it Home Depot from now on. I don't know what Home Depot was thinking, not being like, no, cool, use Home Depot.
I think it would be probably like, if it just took place in Home Depot, it'd be one thing, but the fact that Robert is using his expertise of Home Depot to like, creatively kill people.
You think they had a call? You think they talked to the
CMO
of Home Depot? Yeah. Hey, man, you don't understand. It's Denzel.
I would have loved to have been in the room when Home Depot is weighing the pros and cons of this.
Well, all the color.
Bro, it's essentially free advertising in a Denzel Washington movie.
It's like, wait, how many people died?
We may get a bunch of psychopaths coming to our store looking for different ways to kill people.
They were the Home Depot colors. I mean,
the orange, right?
The CMO's like, blue. What if only like 4 people die? And they're like, no, we need 11. Like, we gotta pass, guys.
Well, I love that Denzel knew where everything was in the store. I know we're not there yet, the final scene, but he knew where every killing weapon.
That was a real home field advantage kind of thing.
I mean, do we just lump this all together as one scene, or would you split
the
it
Home
up?
Depot fight?
Yeah.
See, I mean, I think the Home Depot fight is its own scene. You could.
I also have the Kid Cudi Pursuit of Happiness award for Best Needle Drop for the Die Alone song.
Oh, Vengeance? Yeah.
I'm gonna die alone.
So I actually
very Michael Mannish.
It's very, and then they use New Dawn Fades, the Moby song that was in Heat. They use that as like the right before the credits song before Eminem kicks in. I would say though, a dark horse for rewatchable scene is when Robert makes the cop take down the warehouse with him, pulls the gun out of the guy's hand and puts it in his face. Like whenever you have a gun pointed at you
and puts it in his balls.
Yeah. Pull the gun out of the guy's hand, point it back at him, and then point it at his balls, and then distribute dirty money to all the people working at the warehouse.
I should have had that in.
Mr. Pushkin, thanks you very much.
Yeah.
That was good. I should have.
And Harbor is just like the fuel restrictor plate is off for Harbor in that scene.
I thought there was
You're fucking nuts.
There was one other little scene before that though that I thought was classic, when he was cleaning off the hammer.
Oh yeah.
As he was walking down the aisle.
Yeah.
And we know what in our mind we know what happened.
I also really enjoy, as far as rewatchable scenes, the Robert sticks the hose in Masters' car and keeps rolling up and down the window.
Yeah. I do feel like Robert at some point is getting a little choked up from the exhaust. Like there's just no way he's not breathing.
But he kept going outside. Remember, he said, "I'll be right back."
So the Home Depot massacre we have an incredible drill kill. We have the nail gun for the final weapon, and a really good wrestling fight with the big bearded guy.
Yeah. One of those guys is Bilzerian, right?
Who's that?
Dan Bilzerian,
Oh,
yeah, one of the guys in the crew there, I think, is him.
I thought you were saying his name was Bill.
No,
Zarian.
No.
I was like, what actor is that? I don't know that actor. All right, what do you got for most rewatchable?
I gotta admit, it's still when he goes to see Slavy, and the first time we get the he's taken down the entire crew there.
That's my favorite as well.
That's my most rewatchable. Yeah.
Okay. What's age the best? We already mentioned any action movie when someone says, "Who the fuck are you?" or "Who are you?" I always love that.
As they're dying.
The ending of this movie was just so clearly, we're not done here, guys.
Yeah.
I like sometimes when a movie knows what it is. We're like, you know what? We're going to be running this back.
Well, you and I talked this morning. So he has this anonymity in East Boston, right? He's hoping nobody, except obviously Elena finds him in the last scene. But put that aside. He does all the killing in the
he's 11 kills.
Home Depot.
The Home Depot is just a murder center. It's the biggest store in Boston for 7 days.
Yes.
Okay, and all the employees know that he's not who he
says he is.
He's just back in right field for the softball team on Thursday.
Does he go back to work Monday?
No, because in 2 he's driving a Lyft.
Yeah, but
he's back in Boston.
We don't know how many years later that is, but.
Do you think he showed up for the softball game on that Thursday and they're like,
Bob, we actually
we didn't think you'd be here.
Yeah.
Please don't kill all of us.
But how about poor Ralphie? Does Ralphie check on him
I think
later?
Ralphie exits security as a profession. Maybe
Ralphie might move.
Maybe he goes back to the restaurant.
Moves to Jacksonville. He's got some relatives there. More would age the best. Anyone who tries to read 100 books, I'm just always impressed right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Like if I'm like, hey, Ciara, what's going on? I'm like,
I'm on 98 of the 100 greatest books.
91 books. I'm only 9 away from my 100. I'd be just so impressed by you.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Maybe I should do that.
I feel like Klosterman, you think he's 100 books a year for him?
I think he can do 100 books a year. I don't know if he does.
Taking the local bus to your final fight showdown.
That makes it sound like I don't think Chuck's committed to reading. I'm sure he's read 100 books.
Well,
I like when people take the bus to
he only had
major
29
fights.
minutes to get to the Home Depot.
Yeah.
I guess the bus was the quickest way.
I like it. I
Didn't have a
like the
car.
message.
Yeah. He might have taken an Uber, but.
Ciara, this is for you. What's age the best? A bad guy telling someone to commit a crime and, quote, be loud about it. I like the splashy messages. What's age the best? Russian mobsters in Boston.
Look,
this is a real thing that exists, and
let's give flowers to the Russian mob in general.
Yeah,
great
villains,
and they're up there with apartheid era South Africans and Nazis. It's just really uncomplicated villains.
That's really the bronze, silver, and gold for action movies. Nazis still undefeated.
And like
in movies.
different crews from the Balkans can get involved.
There really is like a Russian scene. Like the J-Bug and I back in the day might have played some pool against people talking in Russian and wondering whether we should take the $80 we won or not.
No. We just wanted to play. This is for fun.
You guys keep it next time. But yeah, there's the Russian mob scene, and then there's that whole Irish side too. But there's way more Russians in Boston than I think people realize.
Yeah, I mean, you read about it in the nightclubs. And I think they own some of the nightclubs.
Yeah. OCD in action movies?
I had that in the worst. I just don't think it adds that much to it.
So you don't like when our hero has some sort of relatable flaw, like in The Accountant with Affleck?
It's just that in this one in particular, it feels like he can turn it off. Like it never affects him. He's really careful about his tea bag, and he's really like nervous about locking and unlocking the door or whatever. But I don't feel like in the warehouse when he goes and takes Andre's gun from him, he's like Denzel Washington. There's no I don't know if I want to . So
you're thinking conditional OCD.
It just seems a little bit like come and go.
I like you don't look like a Bob, you look like a Robert.
Mm-hmm.
That was maybe the only good part of the Chloë Moretz parts. Pouring hot honey on a cut?
I had that. I'm going to try that next time I get a cut.
Just feels like it's not going to go perfect, and maybe the hot honey's going to roll down your leg.
Well, you have to have the discipline. Yeah, you know.
It was unclear to me when
he got hurt.
When he got hurt, because he took that guy down pretty quickly.
I think it's like he got nicked on a wall or against like a gate or something like that. Probably has tetanus.
But he was already bleeding when he.
When he goes against the wall. That's right.
Yeah.
Russian mobsters shoving balls down their victims' throats.
I love when people have a signature kill. It's like, it's the Colombians.
Oh, it's the balls down the throat. Russians.
Well, it also begged the question, why did he kill the 2 cops? Because they didn't do their job, I guess?
Yeah, I think it was like a message to the other.
A lot of messages.
Yeah.
Was that a loud message or like a stealth message?
I think that if 2 cops showed up dead in that fashion outside of the precinct in the trunk of their own car, like Boston itself would be like, the lights would be on all the time. They would just be like, this is the biggest story that's ever happened.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you mean after the Irish guy in the sand?
After Mookie Betts getting traded. Yeah.
Wrong weekend for that joke.
Yeah.
The only other What's Age the Best I had is the garage exhaust pipe tortures, which I've only seen a couple times in movies.
It's hard to pull off.
Pretty good.
You got to count on a guy not having an EV vehicle. You know?
You got to get there a couple hours early.
What if Masters had a Tesla, you know?
My What's Age the Best is East Boston. What about you?
The scenes all over Boston.
Yeah.
All over. It wasn't just East Boston. I mean, it was the Zachem Bridge. It was all over the place.
Good skyscraper scene at one, or not skyscraper, but big building scene when Teddy's looking out the window.
Yeah,
that's like Great Shot Gordo.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
The dissolve from Teddy stretching out to then it dissolves to the Boston skyline. I was like, Antoine's really cooking here.
Yeah.
Do you think there was any chance that Teddy ran across Jim from the town at any point in the same bar? I don't know who the fuck you think you're looking at.
You think Chris went up to him and was just like, you look like would be a good stepfather to Shine. Yeah.
What do you think Teddy visited Sullivan's in Charleston?
It's very possible.
I have, for which is the best, I had a couple others. Just being able to identify someone's profession by looking at their hands. I love that in movies. And he's just like,
also looking down on somebody if they don't like their look of the hands enough.
These hands have never worked a day in their life, but he's able to pick the guy out in the diner because he's like, if you work the power lines, your hands wouldn't look like that. And I think that this movie does a good job. He never uses a gun in this movie. He pulls a gun, but he never uses it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not ostentatious. It's actually kind of cool. And it's really effective. And he uses a nail gun at the end.
One thing that really aged well for me, the music in the movie.
Yeah.
I thought throughout the movie, it wasn't just the ending scene in Home Depot. Throughout the movie, I thought it was well done.
I think he's done a couple of, Harry Gregson has done a couple of Denzel. I think he might have done Man on Fire. He's done a couple of Denzels from that period.
You know, just a segue, Man on Fire, anytime it's on TV, I watch it. So there are Denzel movies that you just watch over and over.
Man on Fire.
Got a special place
You don't need
on the
to
mantle.
convince CR and I.
Yeah, no.
The funny thing about, I like when people say, we never used a gun in the movie, but it's like, but we used a nail gun, which is like more horrifying to get shot by.
Yeah.
But I shoved a corkscrew through somebody's chin.
Yeah.
Didn't use a gun though.
For Batman, it's like because he beats guys up. For the Equalizer, it's because he has more creative ways to kill people.
What'd you have for the Big Kahuna Burger Award for best use of food and drink?
The tea bag and the napkin.
You agree with that?
Yeah.
And that's
to
keep
egg,
like
no cheese?
the pure taste of the tea, like uncontaminated, I guess.
Also, you already
the honey's the answer.
That's good.
Healing a cut with hot honey.
But you mentioned it earlier when the so-called power line guy came in and said no cheese on my sandwich.
Yeah.
My dad's having a really good time. He's just gotten over Game 7. Tatum spraining his ankle right in front of us. 1 minute in. Porzingis trade. Porzingis having plantar fasciitis.
I don't want
Mookie Betts come back to Boston.
Oh, God.
We don't have any starting guards on the Pats. The Bruins.
Jalen Carter's coming to town.
Yeah, it's been a rough summer. He's
no
having a good
offensive
time.
lineman. Gonzalez went down hurt yesterday. Yeah.
Great Shot Gordo Award. I had the same thing, but I confined it to just the overhead shot of Teddy's tattoos, which are it's really cool how
Russian
they do it. It
prison
almost looks like
tats
it's moving.
Really amazing.
Yeah. The Vincent Chase Award for Are We Sure This Character Was Actually Good at His Job? Teddy? Are we sure he was good?
Yeah, I mean, Pushkin definitely has his doubts. He's just like, I sent you over there. All I got is fucking dead bodies and problems.
Yeah, this retired dude is just wiping out my entire army of dudes, and you can't stop him?
Except, obviously, Teddy has a history 100% doing his job. He never ran into Denzel.
Yeah, never ran
We
into
didn't talk
Equalizer.
about the final scene of this movie. I forgot.
What, like the scene after the warehouse, you mean?
When he goes to see Pushkin.
Yeah.
The tail end.
Oh.
And he's just like, I want peace. And
All of a sudden, we're in the shower with an old Russian guy. And we're like,
in Moscow.
Yeah, what's happening?
Well, I liked it when he walked out of the shower and you could see all the dead bodies on the staircase.
Yeah.
As he walked out
That
of the
seems
bed.
good.
Yeah.
I apologize for not mentioning it. The Butch's Girlfriend Award for Weak Link of the film. I'm not going to do the first 20 minutes here. It really bothers me that it's not a Home Depot. I really just, it's like it coming to America when it was McDowell's and it wasn't a McDonald's. Like when they can't get the rights to something, but it's so obviously the thing, it's always in the back of my head as I'm watching
The thing
it.
is, that's wild, is like, that's where Lowe's pounces. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They're
Lowe's
just
is like, we're right here.
Yeah.
You can film Equalizer here. Or who else is in the competitor space?
I mean, True Value could have gotten involved. You know what I mean? I know you need the big box store.
Why
But
use the fake? It bugs me every time. So that's mine. Dude, what do you have for weak link of the film?
Oh, there's no weak link in the film.
No, yeah, sorry. I apologize for asking.
I think that, with all due respect, that I find that the Alina Terry music career is pretty boring. Yeah.
I had What's Age the Worst? Explaining Old Man in the Sea to a 17-year-old Russian prostitute. Could have skipped that scene. A bad guy named Pushkin, just because that's what Gladwell ended up naming his podcast company. And it's just kind of funny that Pushkin is the
Also,
bad guy. And
a Russian mobster,
Yeah.
oligarch.
And I don't have a lot of What's Age the Worst, but David Harbour's Boston accent is just an absolute affront.
I think that he makes
It makes
up
me
for
so
it.
mad.
There's a couple of
He
things
gets
I want to
better
say
as
about
it goes along,
Yeah.
but the first scene when he's like he hadn't had enough time with the dialect coach yet, it's really bad.
Yeah, that first scene when he's talking about who do you think you are? We're not your drivers. That was a little hard to take.
Yeah,
But it got
it's
better.
bad. I think he kept working on it.
It's also confusing, a little bit confusing the first time you meet him because he's wearing a suit and he's at a nightclub and you're like, oh, this is another gangster.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the movie, he's dressed like a Boston asshole.
And now it's confusing because it's like, isn't that the dad from Stranger Things?
The only other thing I had that's aged the worst, aside from the 20 to 30 minutes when Denzel isn't killing people, is the OCD stuff, because I don't really think it. I don't think it lends a ton to the story.
You want a better payoff.
And I on the first watch or like earlier watches, I was always just like, who is Teddy fooling with trying to pretend to be a Boston cop when he goes to McCall's door?
Yeah.
But I think after a while, you can kind of tell he's like, I have no intention of actually trying to trick
he's not
this
even
guy.
trying to trick. Yeah.
He's just like, we're here. Yeah.
Yeah, but that raises a point. Why didn't he just shoot him? Right?
Yeah.
When,
he's
when
found
he
him.
When he opened the door, he found him. He knew that from Elena's girlfriend, that a friend, that
it was
a
him.
black man had been at the hospital.
And as soon as he starts talking to him, he's just like, I paid cash.
Yeah.
You know, like, we didn't put our name down for a reservation. Like, how did you know I was there? It's like, okay, well, this guy knows what he's talking about.
But I think Denzel could have taken the gun out of his hand, so it wouldn't.
Yeah, Denzel just has these cat-like reflexes.
Yeah.
Was there a better title for this movie? God, no.
No, Equalizer's
Love the
great.
Equalizer. Best quote I had, he didn't come for help. He came for permission. Really solid.
I've done some bad things in my life, Nikolai. Things I'm not proud of. I promised someone I love very much that I would never go back to being that person. But for you, I'll make an exception.
Yeah, that was great. Good one. Did you have a hottest take for this?
I'm going to try.
Okay.
Stephen A's just been inspiring me all week with the Lonzo Ball stuff.
Yeah.
So
I
I wanted to sort of meet the moment. I don't think Robert can be a passenger, and if he's just much better qualified to be the security guard of the Boston Home Mart, he's got to take that job. He can't make Ralphie do that job. It's like if Kawhi passes the last shot.
He's like a Kevin Durant bus jumper?
Are you driving the bus or you riding on the bus, Robert?
That's a good one. I didn't have one. My one was kind of, I think Denzel is now my favorite library, but I shot it at the top.
Also, I think it's pretty easy to imagine someone of McCall's expertise could pretty quickly get Alina like out of the country. He could just be like, I've got you a new
just
identity.
Make a phone call.
$9,000 and you go to Los Angeles or something.
Except I don't think he wanted to expose himself. I don't think Elena ever knew that he was the one helping her. Do you think so?
I had that in Unanswerable Questions.
Yeah.
I feel like she kind of deep down knew.
I think she has a sense.
When she said thank you at the end?
Yeah, I think she knew. Casting what ifs. 2010, it was supposed to be Russell Crowe as the Equalizer, directed by Paul Haggis.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and they couldn't land the plane on it, and that one fell
that
aside.
Made it a different movie.
And then they were doing a lot of adult actresses for the Chloë part,
like normal aged women, not adult.
Anna Kendrick
actresses.
Yeah, but not adult film actresses, but just adults.
Yeah.
And then she came in. She was only 17, and she won over Antoine Fuqua. And then asked somebody for advice on how to look more like a prostitute, and they said, "Gain some weight. You're too skinny." So she gained weight to be the prostitute.
The only other thing that for me is that Nicholas Winding Refn was attached to direct this for a while.
He's the guy who did Drive. You like that movie? Gosling?
It's okay.
Wow. Just stabbed Chris in the heart. Chris, you want to take a break and just walk around the table a couple times?
It's a good 5 o'clock.
It's a 5 o'clocker.
Yes, oh, my God.
Yeah, so he left the movie 1 month. They almost had it, and then it fell apart. What'd you have for Ruffalo, Hannah, Rubinek, Partridge overacting?
Kidding me? We should put Harbor in the actual award here.
Well, so I did think that. Teddy does dial it up a couple times.
Yeah, I mean, he does a lot of
I just wanted to talk it out. I had Harbor.
He does like the subtle thing, and he yells a couple of times, but Harbor is screaming the entire movie.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that this guy would go on to be the dad in one of the most watched shows
I
of all
like
time.
him in this, but yeah.
No, but I mean, like, just that he'd be a dad in a movie. What do you have for the overactor? Nobody overacted in this movie. It's perfect.
It's perfect. Not like Ryan Gosling overacting in Drive.
Yeah, that steering wheel. Just kept grabbing it.
Pushkin.
Oh, Pushkin.
Yeah, he
Solid
does dial
choice.
it up.
Best That Guy award. Not eligible, David Harbour, because he became David Harbour. But when they made The Equalizer, he was a fucking full-fledged that guy.
Yeah, he's in a couple of like these kinds of movies around
He's
this
in
time.
Gran
period, and
Turismo
he's
now.
in
It's like the lead of it.
Yeah, and but he was like in Run All Night back then, I think.
Yeah.
He was like in a bunch of these crime
I never
movies.
knew what his name was until Stranger Things.
Yeah. I had Johnny Messner, the guy who's in the Power Lines guy in the diner.
Well, you could also... I never knew what Teddy's name was in real life. I just knew him as the guy from
Marton
this movie.
Csokas. Yeah.
But he's been in a bunch of stuff. So, Best That Guy, who'd you have?
Best That Guy, I had Messner, the guy who goes into the diner to get.
Okay. Dion Waiters award. A lot of people are ineligible. You have to be like only a couple scenes. So I'll give you Melissa Leo.
Okay.
Give you a little Bill Pullman. I can give you John, the Boston sand and gravel guy. You fucking flip ahead.
Uh-huh.
Who else do you have?
Slavi, David Moynier.
Ralphie's mother.
Ralphie's mother.
Ralphie's mother. You liked her. She
Just
got her
like
money
looking
back.
at the heavens when
I
she
like
gets
that.
that
Mental pitch.
Got
$9,000.
the money got in their hand.
Can I do my award now? My special award?
Let's do it.
So in honor of you guys, I wanted to throw another one out there. The Dustin Pedroia Award for the most Boston character.
Oh, yeah.
So we got Little...
That's a great one. Why
Yeah.
did we get It's a good ad.
Little John Looney, who's, the guy who gets beaten up at Boston Sand and Gravel, is played by a guy named Sean Fitzgibbon. I'm not making it up. The cop who says, I should have shot that motherfucker.
Yeah.
That gets jammed up by Denzel. And then the guy robbing the Home Depot who's just empty the register.
Yeah. But I think those were real Boston people
I'm
that
sure.
in it, right?
Yeah.
I'll throw one more. The worker in the diner. The diner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go. I think we go with Little John Looney here.
So you want to name it after Dustin Pedroia?
Yeah. Who do you want to name? You would know better. Who do you want to name it after?
What was Jem's last name? Did Jem have a last name, or was he just Jem? I think Jem is the most Boston character of all time.
James Coughlin. Yeah. That was his real name.
Jem Coughlin Award?
Yeah, the Jem Coughlin Award.
He's the most Boston character that's ever been in a movie.
Yeah, but we should start doing this for like, when we do Josie Wales, we should be like, who's the most Boston character in Josie Wales?
It just stays Boston.
Yeah.
It would be funny to do city-centric versions of that. Yeah, because We had this run in Boston when they just wouldn't put real people from Boston in Boston movies. And
Oh,
then
I mean,
Gone Baby Gone really
oh my
shifted
God,
it.
the woman who's
They
friends
just
with
used
Amy
all the
Ryan
locals,
and Gone
yeah.
Baby Gone.
And then now everybody's more conscious.
But
of
you
it.
still think Gone Baby Gone's too dark to be rewatchable?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't.
It's
watch
not one of those
I
let's
don't
crank this up tonight movies.
I've never rewatched it.
Casey Affleck's about to shoot the cocaine.
It is great though. I mean, there are scenes in it.
I think it's awesome.
Did you have any recasting characters?
No, I thought
didn't
that
either.
this was pretty well put together.
Yeah,
I think you could have had a little bit. I would have a conversation about other people who could have done Teddy, you know, and
Really?
I mean, I
liked
think in a very special place, we could have done an American Gangster reunion and had Russell Crowe playing Teddy.
Oh, interesting.
You know,
But I think he was fat Russell Crowe.
I also think then the budget goes up a lot more. So
Yeah.
I understand what they're doing, but I thought.
I don't think I wanted to see Russell Crowe's back with all the tattoos on it.
the flap. Half-assed internet research. Denzel's place is at 40 Falcon Street in East Boston. You can go Google Earth it if you're home doing nothing.
Is there such a street?
Yeah,
Oh.
you can find it.
Yeah.
The Bridge Diner was located in Chelsea, 25 Everett Avenue, and it was
Chelsea
actually
is right next to East Boston.
they grabbed this business called Chelsea Floor Covering, and the studio rented the building and turned it into a diner over the course of 2 months. The diner doesn't actually exist. Sorry, Dad.
But you know,
In case you took the blue line, just kind of wandering around looking for it.
But it made sense that he wouldn't want to go to a diner right down the street from his apartment.
Right.
That he would walk 5 minutes to Chelsea.
The script originally had no backstory about Robert, so that's where Denzel gets involved and does the OCD thing, does the thing where he interviews a bunch of OCD people to get some of the stuff down, and does the backstory where he goes to see Melissa Leo and Bill Pullman. Those are all Denzel.
There's a bunch of characters in his later part of his career where he really like spreads the mustard real thick with the ticks and stuff, you know.
But you know, we learn a lot more about Robert's background in Equalizer too.
Yes,
True.
we do.
There's a lot left out in the first movie.
The tattoo on Teddy's upper back, which looks like CMEPTB, is the Russian word smirt, which means death.
Cool.
Oh,
So there you go.
glad to know that.
All the books in Robert's home are leather-bound books, which are from the Franklin Library Franklin Mitt set, which is from the
In Equalizer
80s.
2, he gets the last one. He gets Proust,
Yes.
and he buys it for $40.
The last book he puts down at the end of the movie is Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did some research on the TV series The Equalizer, which is where I found out that Edward Woodward was nominated for Outstanding Actor in a Drama Series for 4 years in a row. A category later
Well, there were,
dominated
like,
by James Gandolfini.
13 shows on back
Right.
then.
James Gandolfini and
Do you think
Jeremy Strong.
every year Don Johnson was just like, not Woodward again?
It's like, what do I have to do?
Yeah.
Do you remember growing up watching Equalizer?
Not once.
Yeah,
but
no,
so this is what I found out in my research. His son comes on the show for 12 episodes, played by William Zabka.
Oh, wow.
Johnny Lawrence from Karate Kid was the
And is
Equalizer's
he an
son.
Equalizer in training, or like, do you know what the plot line was?
Unclear.
Yeah.
I didn't. That was where my research ended.
Okay.
Apex Mountain, Denzel, no way. Vigilante movies, no way. East Boston is a movie location. I think, hands down, yes.
Hands down, yes.
Boston Sand and Gravel. I can't remember. Is that where Chucky worked in Good Will Hunting, or
Is
no?
Is that also, where does Nicholson get killed in The Departed?
It might have been there. I should have researched that more.
It's some kind of like construction site, right?
Yeah,
I
it
don't
might
think-
all have been Boston Sand and Gravel.
It might have been. I don't think in those movies they showed. Excuse me, they showed the sign.
David Harbour, no. Boston Herald trucks. I'm gonna say yes. I don't ever remember a Boston Herald truck figuring more prominently into a piece of pop culture.
It's true. They really,
Pretty great.
yeah. And then they kind of dip after
Do you
Spotlight.
think Boston Herald had to pay so that it wasn't Boston Globe to be in that scene, get publicity?
They probably did.
Where did you
Yeah.
work, the Herald or the Globe?
Herald.
Herald.
Craigslist postings?
In
Is
movies,
it
yeah.
better Craigslist posting
Yeah.
in a movie? Probably not. Any other Apex Mountain?
I mean, I think that a box hardware store or a home store as a killing field is definitely Apex Mountain for this.
Fake Home Depots?
Uh-huh.
Dad doesn't know what Apex Mountain is. He's
no,
just
but
nodding.
I don't think Home Depot has been used that way before or after.
There you go.
Yeah.
This is as good as it got.
Picky Nits. Oh, no. Best racehorse name, The Equalizer.
Yeah. Or fucking Flipperhead.
Fucking Flipperhead would be good. Coming down the stretch. Picky Nits. All right. Denzel's playing right field
Yeah.
for the softball team.
I had an unanswerable
Right
question about
field?
this. Yeah.
I thought he was playing left field.
So wait, are
No,
you
he's
saying
playing
that?
right field.
Are you saying that because don't you think you would want Denzel in a higher leverage position, or that right field requires like athleticism?
Okay. I'm pretty sure he has the athleticism because we saw him kill 6 people in the span of 11 seconds.
Right.
Right field is
But we
where you
didn't see
kind
him
of
cover a
stash
ton
somebody.
of ground. It's not like he could play
It's
center.
like, do you have like knee stuff?
But
It's
I
like,
don't-
put me in right, I won't have to
I
run.
don't think he wants everybody to know how talented he is at Home Depot.
Well, they're all mystified by him. They think he's in Gladys Knight and the Pips. you know?
Exactly. Oh, was he?
Well, so if we do the movie softball team
Yeah.
and Daniel Caffey's the shortstop, and we
and,
got
and the player
and we got-
manager. Yeah.
and we have
Player coach.
Robert in right field. I don't know who else is in there. It's a pretty good team though. But yeah, right field just really jumped out at me. I would have put him in left.
Yeah.
Left field is still a little unassuming, and you're
but like you can use the cannon a little
Yeah.
bit. Yeah. I just wanted to know what his slash line was. Like, how important was he to the team?
I had that down as well, like his stats. Was he like a 2 for 4, 2 hard doubles where the outfield wasn't playing guy, or did he try to hit bombs?
Yeah.
Well,
Or
they
just
won,
like
they
hard
won
singles?
the game, and I assumed that he hit the home run in the third inning that won the game.
Also, didn't really call off the second baseman in the
Almost
pop
ran,
fly.
almost
Yeah,
ran
almost
into
ran him over.
Yeah.
Picky Nits. We did the. Are we sure there would be a diner that would stay up all night in East Boston? Kills 6 guys because his Russian prostitute acquaintance is even a strong word that he's talked to 3 times. Gets roughed
Who's
up.
kind of rude to him in the diner
Yeah,
anyway.
he's not this isn't exactly like his muse.
Yeah.
But
And he's
I
just
don't-
like, you know what? This is the one where I need to kill
But
everybody.
I don't think he went there intending to kill 6 people. He went
There to pay $9,800 for a
to
free
get
one.
her out of her situation.
But he's not a spring chicken. He must have known that they weren't going to say, "Oh yeah, $9,800 is a really great price."
I think he was itching for it.
Yeah.
I think he was sitting in that diner just hoping and praying, and then the Russian prostitute
He's like
comes
Brady
in.
gripping the football on the
Yeah,
couch.
they
this season.
talk 3 times, and he's like, "Wait, somebody smacked her." Ah. Can you really heal a cut with hot honey?
Did you look this up? I think it's an adhesive.
It's one of those things that happens in movies where they'll do something like this, and I just assume this is.
I assume that.
Oh yeah, that of course, hot honey.
that everybody does it.
I think I mean there's been war movies and action movies where guys use crazy glue on wounds, so I assume hot honey serves the same function.
I'm gonna ask Kyle to cut his leg and pour hot honey on it, and then report back. So stay tuned for next week's pod.
Is this the picking Nick's
Yeah.
section?
Yeah. What do you got?
I had a couple. In earlier part when he's walking across across the bridge, and the car pulls up.
Yeah.
And the guy smacks her to get in the car. I was surprised he didn't do something right then and there.
Yeah.
He could have wiped out Slavy and his driver, and Elena would have been in good shape.
To your point, it seems like it was important to him to like keep Elena in the dark about who he was and
Yeah.
what he was
Yeah, that's
capable
why
of.
he probably didn't. What else do you
She's
have?
in a very convenient coma
I'm
for
impressed
most
you
of this
picked the
movie.
knit. That was a good knit.
Yeah.
Well, the $9,800.
Yeah, how we got to that number?
It's uncertain where that figure came from. And then the scene where he helps out Ralphie's mom with the 2 cops. How did he get the cop's cell phone number?
He's because he's the equalizer.
He's the
He's
equalizer.
obviously got like he's able
That's
to
his
find out
equalizer.
all
He
this
just-
stuff about Teddy from Melissa Leo.
Yeah, he
I'm
just
sure
equalizes
but,
it.
yeah.
But he got the Melissa Leo. But this was a separate issue. I mean, did he have connections we don't know about? Where he
Right. It's a
must
cool
have.
trick.
Yeah.
He could easily have been the GM of the Red Sox and just equalizer things.
And we didn't see the scene where he went in the other restaurant and taped the cops threatening the owner with
Yeah.
fire.
Right.
That was kind of neat, I thought, the way they did that.
I have 2 more nitpicks. The Russian prostitutes in Boston are just too good looking. It's just not realistic. I'm sorry. There's just, especially the second one, no way. Just no. No way.
I thought it was realistic.
Is it the Russian prostitute part or the fact that they're in Boston? What's the determining factor
combo?
here? Yeah.
I think they're definitely a little more weathered.
Okay.
I'm going to use the word weathered.
Uh-huh.
And then the watch that he wears, which is a Sunto Core all black, which I researched. And the stopwatch is not actually in the watch. That's the actual model of the watch.
Oh.
So they reconfigured the watch to make it cooler.
But the CIA could have done that for him.
Because he's the Equalizer.
He was the Equalizer.
Any other nitpicks?
Just Ralphie's wearing a T-shirt from the band Foreigner, and he doesn't seem like a big Foreigner guy.
Yeah, it's like an
It's
ironic
2014,
T-shirt, but there's
maybe.
nothing ironic at all about Ralphie.
Dude, a lot of Home Depot security guards wear ironic rock T-shirts. Maybe they do. I don't know, but
Maybe it was his dad's.
yeah, maybe it was his dad's.
We didn't spend a lot of time talking about Ralphie.
Yeah, it's
What was
like,
his box score in this
you know what
movie?
sucks is that
8 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist.
when Terry Olina goes to the hospital, you're kind of like, all right, let's go. Now we're
Yeah.
gonna really get into this. And then Ralphie kind of plays the role of Terry, where he's like, I'm just a naif who needs your help, Mr. McCall.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, you're like, I really want to see Denzel interact with the Russian mob and the Boston cops like really badly at
Did
this
this
point.
need to be like a funny actor? Did this need to be like 2002 Horatio Sands?
Or
like 1995 Chris Farley, where it's like, actually, this guy's legitimately funny. I like him.
Why did Ralphie need to be funny?
What? Just can you describe Ralphie in a sentence?
Well, he weighed 247 pounds.
Yeah.
I know that.
and he wants to get into security.
By the way, what kind
Was he
of
funny? Was he serious? Was he smart? What was
kind
he?
of security outfit has a weight limit of you need to be no more than 247
It's also
pounds?
weird
Yeah, that
because
was
he's
weird.
getting the job at the store.
Yeah.
So it's like he's already in the system. They could be like, well, we'll try out for a while, Ralphie. Like, it doesn't have to be this huge.
How
career
hard is
move.
the system, too?
Yeah.
Like, they're really.
He
like,
also, on like his first day, they get robbed by that guy who takes the woman's
Right.
ring too.
Sequel, prequel, Prestige TV, all black cast are untouchable. Well,
They made 2 sequels.
second sequel's coming out this weekend. By the way, we're not doing this as publicity for the movie. It just
happened to be this way.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it coming out this weekend?
I think it's next
Next.
weekend.
I
And
think
it's Dakota
next.
Fanning, so we have a Man on Fire reunion.
It's very important.
Very important.
It's also
And
I wonder-
he's taking out the Neapolitan mob.
I
think,
wonder
in
what
this one.
time Friday I can see it.
Hopefully 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Well,
Or
it's
is that
the-
disrespectful?
Oh,
to-
that's disrespectful. This would be if it's
No,
1 in
this
the
is-
afternoon.
Yeah, this is either a Saturday at 1
No, it's
or Friday at 1.
It opens a Friday.
I mean, you're retired.
I'm-
You can
I'm
kind of go whenever you
available.
want.
I'll probably be with the other 18 guys in the movie theater.
Is this movie better with Wayne Jenkins, Danny Trejo, Catherine Hahn, Steve Buscemi, Sam Jackson, J.T. Walsh, or Philip Baker Hall?
We can go a couple different ways here. I would like to also add maybe another wrinkle to it,
Okay.
which is, would this movie been better with Staff Sergeant Dignam?
You know who that is?
No.
It's Mark Wahlberg from The Departed.
Oh.
And so when Teddy goes to see Robert, and he goes, I got a question, Robert. How fucked up are you?
That's good. We should add Dignam to the list. I'm gonna add him for the next one. Just one Oscar who gets it.
Can I also say, how excited would you have been if when we get to Moscow, Pushkin is played by Buscemi, and he's just showering with Russian prison tats?
Yeah, they could have done a better
Yeah,
stunt casting person. There could have been any Russell Crowe could have been in that part.
that would have
I
been
did
fun.
have a question there. Do you think Robert flew commercial to get to Russia?
That's a huge nitpick.
Well, he had $9,800 extra
unanswerable question
dollars.
for me is just like how he's moving through.
Blockchain.
Arguably, the most protected man in the world is a Russian oligarch.
Yeah.
You know, well, I guess not.
It's all out there.
It's all out there.
Just one Oscar who gets it,
Denzel.
Denzel. Probably unanswerable questions. How did the rest of the softball season go? Like
I think
second
it's
round
I think
playoff
it's
exit?
I think they're all shaken from what's happened. You know, we've had a mass
maybe
murder.
maybe stop the season?
Yeah, yeah. you know, Ralphie maybe is like, I don't want to play catcher anymore. No,
reevaluating stuff.
Yeah, do they have like a guy who can fill in and right field?
Right.
You know, maybe they can't even field the team.
See, you're assuming he doesn't go back and join the softball team.
I mean, everyone's dead. He could probably just go back.
I mean, everyone.
The cops probably aren't happy.
Do we think that nobody at Home Depot or Home Mart knew where Robert lived because Elena found him?
Right.
And he was still living there.
It is a hole. It does seem like pretty easy to find, yet impossible to find. It's they thread that where the Russians can't find them.
Yeah.
But anyone else can find them immediately. Do you have any more unanswerable questions?
Yeah, I want to know whether or not, especially in the warehouse scene, when they go to sort of take Pushkin's money and give it away, Harbor is just dressed exactly like Billy Costigan from The Departed, and I want to know whether or not like they were like,
was it an homage?
It's an homage, or they're just like, that's how fucking Boston cops dress when they're walking around.
There's Antoine Fuqua's watching The Departed to
it's
figure
like,
out how
let's
people
get this
dress.
guy a windbreaker and a hat.
Which movie came out first?
Departed.
Was, yeah, like 8 years earlier.
Yeah.
My last unanswerable question is: Equalizer 2 better than Equalizer 1?
It is. It is to me.
I kind of feel like it is.
Because it's
Equalizer 1's more
'cause I'll
important
tell you
because it
why-
creates
and
a
I'll tell you
franchise.
why.
It's like John Wick 2, right?
Pedro Pascal is awesome in Equalizer 2. He's awesome.
I think it's like a whiff better.
And it's a little bit of Sicario stuff happening in it. It's like a little bit, it's pretty cool.
Killing Melissa Leo
Spoiler.
hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it gives
Jesus.
him really good motivation.
Poor Jesse had no idea. Just ruined Equalizer 2 for him. Best double feature choice for this movie is also answers the Indian Red Zawatney Award for what happened the next day. Equalizer 2.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
He's on a train in Turkey rescuing a child. Although you could watch Man on Fire as a double feature with this.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Pretend he's Creasy, basically. Creasy lives. Man on Fire 2, Creasy lives. Are you there at 1 o'clock on Friday?
Well, Creasy could have lived. He could have fainted in the car.
We talked about this when we did the Rewatchables pod about it. No, just like he dies in the car, but
it would have been cool.
You could also say that he didn't, that he just went into a really deep coma, but came out of it somehow.
It would have been awesome if they had basically made Creasy into the Christopher Walken character in Man on Fire, and he was now like the sort of mentor, facilitator for like Ryan Reynolds on Fire or whatever.
I should know this, but you guys already did Man on Fire?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, why wasn't I part of that?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Probably should have been. I apologize. What piece of memorabilia would you want from this movie? It's got to be the watch.
Yeah, the watch.
How is it not the watch?
It's definitely the most iconic thing.
What would you want from this movie?
Or the sledgehammer.
I think the sledgehammer. I love the
corkscrew.
Him putting the bloody
How about
sledgehammer.
just using the corkscrew and like, hey, does anybody want a new bottle of Pinot Noir? It's like, by the way, this corkscrew.
It's been in a guy's throat.
Except he didn't pull the corkscrew out, did he?
Yeah.
He left it in.
Left it in.
Yeah.
Coach Finstock Award for Best Life Lesson.
Don't cross
Denzel. I have don't talk to Russian prostitutes in a diner at 3 a.m. was my lesson.
I got when you pray for rain, you got to deal with the mud too.
Oh, good one.
Yeah.
Like that one.
Good one.
Who won the movie?
Denzel.
Have we done a Denzel movie where he didn't win the movie?
You know what? I was wondering, I couldn't remember. We haven't, because we thought about doing Pelican Brief, right? And it didn't.
We're going to at some point because the half-assed research for that movie is so good. The
But
stuff they cut out.
that's an interesting battle.
That's a good battle.
And we haven't done Philadelphia, but for the most part, Denzel wins.
He
the
loses
movies.
Philadelphia probably.
Probably.
How about, did you do Training Day?
Yeah. We have him winning Training Day, obviously.
That was a dub.
Yeah.
That was an easy.
Although
that was
Ethan really, he put in a shift.
It was a 4-0 sweep, but the other team was good.
It was a 4-0 sweep, but everybody we're like, hey man, you guys are next. Great job.
American Gangster would be a good one for.
I mean, he
good who won the
definitely wins
movie.
American Gangster, but
That's a good discussion.
Crow's really
good in that movie.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it in a while. Dad, anything else? Any last words?
So in the Boston crime movie pantheon,
I guess we should have asked this. Is this a Boston movie?
Well, for you, it must be.
For me, it is because it feels like everything is happening in Boston. All the scene I'm sure they did scenes elsewhere, but I don't know that.
It doesn't get mentioned with The Town and Friends of Eddie Coyle and like the verdict, and when people rip off like the Boston movies, it's kind of on this stealth Boston side with like Starting Over. And
that's
couple
a good
of those
point.
other ones.
Or Departed.
Like Starting Over is a Boston movie, but nobody
but
would say like.
arguably, this is more of a Boston movie than Departed, which was shot in like Toronto and New York, right?
Yeah, what's cool about it, and the same thing for what The Town did with Charlestown, is there are these really distinct pockets of outer Boston. But anytime you see a movie, it's always like just Boston, like the Boston people think. And
Good Will Hunting the same way.
Yeah, Good Will Hunting's another one where they go in the Southie pretty hard. But there is like, I'd never seen anybody do it with East Boston, so I thought that part was cool.
No, I don't remember East Boston either.
Chelsea's still sitting there for somebody.
They've done Charlestown.
Nobody's done Chelsea though.
No.
And Gloucester was in the movie that won the Oscar, Coda.
Oh yeah, but
that was another one that was always should have been a movie location for somebody, and then it finally happened.
Well, Gloucester
that's like
is
way
where they
outside
start
Boston, but
Perfect Storm, right?
Oh yeah, we did that one.
Gloucesterman.
All right, Dad. It was a true pleasure.
It was.
Thanks for talking to Equalizer.
It's always
with
wonderful
us.
to pod with you.
This
only happened twice.
This was a one for us, but it was like one for us and my dad.
And Denzel.
Well, I got to do Shawshank and I got to do Equalizer.
What's the next one? Josie Wales.
Yeah, you got to call your next one. What is it? I don't know how we're going to be able to book you again. Your busy schedule.
See movies at 1:00.